There was a girl named Anita. She lived in a quiet village where the trees listened, and the winds told secrets. From the moment she was born, the elders said, "This one is special." Her eyes were soft, her steps were light. And when she started to sing, the world stopped. Anita's voice was not loud. It didn't shake walls, but it touched hearts. It moved people to tears. Even those who did not believe in God came to church just to hear her sing. Every Sunday, the wooden church filled early. Old grandmothers, strong farmers, shy children, they all came. They didn't come for the pastor. They didn't come for the sermon. They came for Anita. When she sang, birds sat still on the windows. Babies stopped crying. The air felt different, like it was holding its breath. Some said her voice came from heaven. Others believed it had the power to heal broken hearts. Anita wore no gold. No powder touched her face. Her skirts were long, sweeping the earth like gentle rivers. Her head was always wrapped in clean cloth, and her eyes always looked down in respect. She didn't laugh too loud. She didn't dance in public. She moved through the village like a spirit, quiet, kind, always alone. Women pointed at her and said, "That is how a daughter should be." Men lowered their heads when she passed. Even children grew silent when she entered a room. Her father, Pastor Emmanuel, was the leader of the church. A tall man with a deep voice and eyes that held both fire and calm. He loved Anita more than anything. And when she sang, his face shone with pride. "God gave me this daughter," he would say. "She is a light in this dark world, a pure vessel, a holy song." And the people nodded. They clapped. Some cried. Mothers held their daughters tighter, wishing they could be more like her. In the village, she was more than a girl. She was a symbol, a miracle, a dream. No one dared to speak ill of Anita, but no one knew the truth. No one saw the shadow behind her light. No one noticed how tired her eyes looked after singing. No one heard the silent prayers she whispered alone in the night. No one asked what her silence was hiding. Every Sunday, she opened her mouth, and a river of sound poured out. But behind that sound was something dark, something painful, something too heavy for a girl her age to carry. And yet, she carried it. She smiled. She sang. She waved politely. She did what they expected, because sometimes, the ones who shine the brightest are the ones hiding the deepest sorrow. And Anita was hiding something no one would believe. Not even her father. Pastor Emmanuel was not just any man. In their village, he was the voice of God, the hand that blessed marriages, and the ear that listened to people's tears. He had led the church for over 20 years, and never once had his name been touched by scandal or shame. He stood tall in the pulpit, his Bible close, his word strong. When he preached, the people leaned forward, listening closely. When he prayed, it felt like heaven opened. But nothing made him prouder than his daughter, Anita. "She is my reward," he often said. "God saw my faith and gave me this jewel." He would watch her sing with a smile that reached his eyes. After every service, people would surround him and say, "Your daughter is a gift from God." And he would nod, quiet and proud, pretending to be humble, while inside, he danced with joy. At home, he protected her. She didn't do chores like other girls. She didn't walk alone. He made sure she had everything she needed. "The devil walks at night," he warned, "waiting to destroy pure things." In his sermons, he spoke of her often. "Fathers," he would say, "look at my Anita. No makeup, no tight clothes, no loud talking. She fears God. She is gentle. She is clean." The people clapped. Women whispered hopes into their daughters' ears. Men nodded, wishing their own homes carried such grace. Anita sat quietly as he spoke. She never smiled. Never clapped. Her hands stayed folded in her lap. The more her father praised her, the heavier her chest became. She wanted to scream sometimes. To stand up and say, "No. That's not who I am." But she couldn't. How could she? This was her father. The man who believed she was a holy light in a dark world. What would he do if he knew her secret? What would happen to his heart? So she stayed quiet. She kept singing. She played the role. Because sometimes, it is not the word that traps us, it is love. And the hardest truths are the ones we cannot tell the people who believe in us the most. Nobody in the village knew what happened to Anita on Saturday nights. They believed she spent her evenings in prayer. That she slept early, wrapped in holy dreams, and woke up with hymns already dancing on her lips. But the truth was far from holy. Every Saturday, after the sun disappeared, Anita slipped out of her room. She moved like a ghost, careful not to wake her father. Her steps were slow, her hands cold. She wore a simple wrapper, and she carried nothing with her. Not even her Bible. She didn't go to pray. She didn't go to prepare her voice. She went to pay the price. It all began when she turned 18. That year, her voice, once powerful and smooth, started to fail her. One Sunday morning, she stepped up to sing, opened her mouth, and only a weak sound came out. Her throat was dry. Her breath was thin. She forced the song, but it fell flat. The church was quiet. People clapped politely, but their eyes were confused. That night, Anita cried into her pillow. The next day, she refused to eat. For 3 days, she barely spoke. Her father thought it was a spiritual attack. He prayed. He fasted. But nothing changed. Then, late one evening, a stranger came to their house. She was a woman in black, tall, calm, with eyes that seemed too old for her face. She said nothing to anyone but Anita. She took the girl's hand and whispered, "Your voice is a gift. But gifts must be fed. If you want to sing again, you must give something first." Anita asked, "What do I give?" The woman looked into her eyes and said, 10 men. Each time. Before Sunday comes. Anita didn't understand. She didn't want to believe. But that weekend, she did what the woman said. And on Sunday, her voice came back. It was stronger than ever. Softer, deeper, more divine. People cried. Some knelt. The elders said, "Heaven has touched her." And so, the ritual began. Every Saturday, Anita met with men, 10 in total. Some were old. Some were young. Some came smiling. Others didn't even speak. She didn't ask questions. She didn't want names. She closed her eyes and let it happen. Each time, a piece of her soul slipped away. Her heart grew quieter. Her spirit shrank. But on Sunday, the people praised her. They said she was anointed. They said she was chosen. Nobody saw the bruises. Nobody saw the tears she wiped in the dark. They only heard the songs. And in the village, a good voice meant one thing: blessing. Anita hated herself. She hated her voice. She hated the woman who gave her the secret. She even began to hate the people who clapped for her, because they didn't know they were clapping for pain. Still, she kept going. Because deep inside, she was afraid. What if she stopped? Would her voice disappear forever? Would the people stop loving her? Would her father stop smiling? And worse, what if everything she had was built on this secret? She didn't want to know the answer. So she said nothing. She walked the road of shame every Saturday night. And every Sunday morning, she sang like an angel. Anita never told anyone how she found the woman. Or maybe it was the woman who found her. That day, after her voice failed in church, Anita wandered deep into the bush. She walked without purpose, tears falling from her eyes, her chest heavy with shame. She didn't want to go home. She didn't want to be seen. She found herself near an old tree. Its bark was black like charcoal, its roots curled like sleeping snakes. The air there was cold, even though the sun was still shining. And from the shadows, the woman appeared, tall, calm, and strange. "You don't know me," the woman said. "But I know your voice." Anita froze. She wanted to run, but her feet stayed still. Her heart beat like a drum in her ears. "You were born with a song," the woman said, "but songs are spirits. And spirits always want something." That was the first time Anita heard about the ritual. The woman did not raise her voice. She didn't threaten. She spoke softly, the way an elder teaches a child to stir soup slowly. Every voice that moves hearts must be fed, she said. Yours is no different. Anita asked, fed with what? The woman looked at her with deep eyes and said, with men. 10 men, every time, before Sunday morning. Only then will the Spirit bless your voice again. Anita thought it was a joke. Or madness. But the woman placed a cold hand on her chest and whispered, do this, and you will never lose your voice again. The people will worship your gift. Your Father will see you as perfect. And the world will listen. Anita cried. But her heart listened. Her soul was desperate. She remembered the silence in church, the disappointment in the people's faces. The way her father's smile faded that day. She couldn't live through that again. So she agreed. The woman told her not to search for the men. They will come, she said. Like rain to dry land. Just wait. And they did. Every Saturday night, 10 men came. They didn't speak much. They didn't stay long. Some looked ashamed. Others didn't meet her eyes. It was like a silent, dark dance, no music, no joy. When they left, Anita would sit under the cold water for hours, scrubbing her body, hoping to erase what had happened. But nothing washed it away, yet every Sunday, her voice returned, strong, sweet, full of spirit. People lifted their hands. Some even knelt down, crying. The church echoed with praises. She is anointed, they said. She is touched by God. No one knew what she had done the night before. And Anita sounded like nothing was wrong. But her heart was breaking. She began to fear her own voice. It didn't feel like a gift anymore. It felt like a curse with a pretty sound. She wanted to stop. She wanted to run far away. But she was trapped. What if her voice disappeared again? What if the woman returned and cursed her? What if God rejected her for breaking the deal? She didn't know what was real anymore. Her pain. Her voice. The applause. She was now part of something bigger, something dark. Something hungry. And every song she sang only fed it more. Sunday morning came like clockwork. Roosters crowed, bells rang, and the village slowly filled with the sound of footsteps and prayers. People wore their finest clothes, bright lace, clean wrappers, polished shoes. But no matter how beautiful the day looked, everyone waited for one thing. Anita's voice. She arrived early, just like she always did. Her scarf was neatly tied, her white blouse freshly ironed, her Bible clutched to her chest like a shield. No one could guess what had happened to her the night before. No one even wondered. Her steps were soft, quiet. Her smile was gentle. Her eyes, though heavy with secrets, still sparkled in the morning light. Look at her, old women whispered. So pure. So decent. Young girls stared with admiration. Mothers pointed at her and told their daughters, that is how a girl should behave. That is how you find favor with God. And when Anita stood before the congregation, a stillness fell. The choir began, but her voice rose above them, clear, warm, like honey melting in hot water. The sound danced through the air, touched the walls, and slipped into every heart. People cried. Some shouted. Others just closed their eyes and let her voice wash over them. She is not ordinary, someone whispered. She is chosen. Pastor Emmanuel, sitting in the front row, closed his eyes and smiled. His heart swelled with pride. He didn't know the truth. But in that moment, he felt like the most blessed father in the whole world. Anita looked at him as she sang, just for a second, and her stomach turned. Because every note she offered felt like a lie. Every word that left her lips was dipped in shame. The people saw light. She felt darkness. They heard heaven. She remembered hell. After the final word, the room stayed quiet. For one long second, no one moved. Then came the claps, the loud amens, the shaking of heads in wonder. Anita bowed her head. She smiled. She took her seat. But inside, she was sinking. Her hands trembled. Her legs were weak. And her soul felt like a well with no water left. She listened as the pastor preached. She sang with the choir again. She greeted the elders, hugged the children, thanked the visitors. All with the same calm face. Because no one ever asked her if she was okay. No one wondered if she felt tired. Because in their eyes, Anita was perfect. And perfect people aren't allowed to break. In her world, angels don't cry. And saints don't confess. They only sing. The storm inside Anita had no thunder, no lightning, no rain. It was silent. It lived in her chest, behind her eyes, beneath her smile. But it grew stronger with each song, each applause, each Sunday morning. She was tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix. She was tired in her bones. In her spirit. In the part of her that once believed she was doing the right thing. One Saturday evening, as the sun began to set, she sat on the edge of her bed. Her scarf lay on her lap. Her hands trembled. 10 men. Again. She looked at her Bible, then at the door. Then back at her hands that had held microphones, hands that had led worship, hands that had been lifted in prayer. They now felt dirty. Not from what she touched, but from what she allowed. She wept. Not loud. Not messy. Just quiet tears that soaked her skirt and refused to stop. God, she whispered, do you still hear me? There was no answer. No voice from the clouds. No gentle wind through the window. Only silence. She thought about the woman, about her dark eyes and soft voice. About the first time she heard those words, 10 men before Sunday. She had believed. But now she was beginning to question. What if it was a lie? What if the voice was always hers? What if she had traded her body for nothing? The thought broke something inside her. She remembered all the Sundays. The praise. The crying. The worship. And then she remembered all the Saturdays. The shame. The silence. The empty eyes of strangers. She was no longer sure who she was. Was she Anita the singer? Or Anita the sacrifice? Her heart couldn't carry both anymore. She stood up, walked to the mirror, and looked at herself. Really looked. Her face was the same. But her eyes had changed. She looked like someone else. Someone older. Someone who had seen too much. And in that moment, something inside her cracked. She didn't want to sing anymore. She didn't want to smile anymore. She didn't want to pretend. She wanted peace. She wanted silence. She wanted a life that didn't cost her soul. But how do you stop being what everyone thinks you are? How do you break free when the chains are made of love, of respect, of expectation? She didn't know. She just knew she couldn't do it much longer. Her gift was killing her. And she was starting to believe that even if the voice stayed, her soul would not survive. What would they say, if they knew? If one Sunday morning, Anita stepped up to the pulpit, not to sing, but to speak. If she opened her mouth and told the truth. If she said, before I sing, I must give myself to 10 men. Would they still cry when she sang? Would her father still call her his treasure? Would the old women still whisper prayers for daughters like her? Would the girls still watch her like she was a dream? Or would they look away? Would the applause turn to silence? Would the smiles become frowns? Would Pastor Emmanuel cover his face and weep? Would the men who once praised her now spit her name? Anita imagined it, many times. Standing in front of everyone, her voice shaking, her heart in pieces. The truth falling like broken glass. Her father's eyes wide with disbelief. The choir frozen. The church dead quiet. She imagined the gasps, the hands covering mouths, the whispers racing through the pews. But she also imagined something else. A release. A freedom she had never known. No more lying. No more pretending. No more singing songs soaked in shame. Just quiet. Just truth. Just Anita. She wouldn't need applause anymore. Or claps. Or praise. Just peace. The kind that sits deep in your bones. But every time she thought of speaking, fear held her back. What if they didn't understand? What if they turned their backs? What if her father collapsed from the pain? So she swallowed the truth. Again. And again. And again. Because sometimes silence feels safer than honesty. And pain becomes easier to carry when it's hidden behind a smile. So every Sunday, Anita sang. She sang for the people who believed in her. She sang for the father who saw her as a miracle. She sang for the girl she used to be. And the girl she could never return to. They praised the gift. But if they only knew the price, they would not clap. They would not cry. They would not call her blessed. They would fall silent, because the most beautiful voices often come from the most broken places. And the ones we lift the highest are often the ones suffering the most.